We've seen this before. So the recall is when solving equations, we are isolating the variable. That is still true. That is still what we're doing. We're trying to get x, y, p, a, m by itself. That's our goal. To isolate the variable, we do the order of operations backwards, meaning we do subtraction and addition first to move the constant. We divide or multiply to get rid of the coefficient, and then we do anything to get rid of exponents or grouping symbols. What we learned yesterday was we had to do the grouping symbol first. Later. Okay? So, Kylan, make sure you're leaning up for me, baby. Kylan, lean up, baby. You can't sleep in here. Grab a clipboard if you're sleepy. Remember, we already had this talk. Go on and grab one till you wake up a little bit more. Go on and grab one till you wake up a little bit more. We ain't doing it today. We got things to do. The reminder is, what we do to one side, we have to do what? To the other. That will always be a consistent thing that we say over and over and over again. If you fail to do this, you will fail to understand how to solve an equation correctly. So to solve the following equation, I have 2x plus 10 equals 22. What's the first step here? Minus 10, because 10 is our constant, right? It's initially being added, so we have to subtract it to get it on the side by itself. What's being brought down? What happens to those 10s? Cancel out. What's behind it? Equals, what am I typing in? 22 minus 10. There we go. We read it from top to bottom. Get it typed in. Get it typed in. I'll tell you when. Jordan, make sure you're typing it in, baby. The writing isn't going anywhere, but you need to physically do this. That way we can improve our grade from yesterday. Lean up. Arms out. Arms out. Both of them. Level of maturity is doing what you need to do even when you're uncomfortable. You know it's going to be cold in here. It's something that you already were told. Yes or no? So you got to come prepared for that, okay? Push through. We're not in middle school. We don't do that no more. Okay? So, what's 22 minus 10? What did y'all get? 12. What do we do? Divide by, because we're multiplying by 2 initially, right? We do it on both sides. What happens to these 2's? So what's brought down? Behind that? Equals, and then what am I typing in? 12 divided by 2. Type it in. Type it in. I know the majority of you have already. What y'all get? Any questions there? Looking at B. I have 6x minus 15 equals 21. What's the first thing I need to do? Plus 15, because negative 15 is our constant. We do plus 15 on both sides. What's being brought down? And then, what happens to those 15s? So what comes down directly behind it? Equals. What am I typing in? 21 plus 15. Type that in for me, please. 21 plus 15. No. What did you get when you say 21 plus 15?
36.
What do I need to do from there? Because we're initially multiplying by 6. The inverse is division. What happens to these 6's? What's being brought down? Then? And what am I typing in? Perfect. Get that typed in, please. What'd y'all get?
6.
Any questions there? Is everybody good? So if I'm looking at example 1A, it says, but what if we have 2 variables? We must combine like terms before we do anything pertaining to the opposite of the order of operations. We have to combine like terms beforehand. So if I'm looking at letter A, this one's worked out prior to us. We have 4y minus 16 plus 8y equals negative 4. So looking on that side, do I have any like terms? What are my like terms? 4y and 8y. I'm going to highlight mine for extra, but they underlined it for those who don't have highlighters. So what am I typing into the calculator? 4 plus 8. So type in 4 plus 8. Make it quick, make it quick. It's a very simple addition. 4 plus 8. What did y'all get? 12. That's where 12y comes from. Does that make sense? Yes. From there, we bring down minus 16 equals negative 4. Any questions? Now, does this look like what we've been doing on the top two examples once we get to this step? So, what's the first step I need to do? Plus 16, because negative 16 is our constant. Do we see that? So, what's brought down? What happens to the 16s? They cross out, leaving equals, and then what am I typing in? So type in negative 4 plus 16. This is how we're proving the work that we're seeing. We have to be able to prove it. We have to know it. Type in negative 4 plus 16. What did y'all get? 12. That's where this came from. Any questions? Now, what would be my last step to get y isolated? Divide by that coefficient, which is what? 12. What happens to these 12s? So what's brought down? Then? And then what am I typing in? Anything divided by itself is? To check it, I would need to take this and plug it in everywhere I see an x. Does that make sense? So now I have 4 times 1 minus 16 plus 8 times 1 equals negative 4. So type in this line right here, just this piece. So type in 4 parentheses 1, close parentheses, minus 16, plus 8 parentheses 1, close parentheses. Jordan, type this in, baby. Kingston, make sure you type it in, honey. Y'all have to know how to do this and do it effectively. That's the whole point of the class. That's the whole purpose. If you're not proving the math, you can't explain the math. That's the biggest hurdles we try to get over. What did y'all get? Were you trying to get negative 4?
Yes.
So, is 1 the right answer?
Yes.
Any questions there? Let's look at B. I have x minus 1 plus 5x equals 23. Looking on the left side, do I have any terms I can combine?
Yes.
What? X and 5x. So what's the coefficient in front of that x? 1. So what am I typing into the calculator? 1 plus 5. And what do you get? 6 what? What needs to come down behind it? Minus 1 equals 23. Now we just have a two-step problem, right? So what's my first step? Plus 1, because my constant is a negative 1 if I cover over the variable term. Does that make sense? So what's being brought down? Because what happens to those ones? They cancel out, so we have equals, I heard that. And what's being typed in? 23 plus 1 gets you what? 24. What do I do from there? Divide by what? On both sides. There we go. What happens to those 6's? They cancel out, bringing down what? Behind that? And then what am I typing in? What's 24 divided by 6? Any questions there? Any at all? To check it, what would I have to do? Plug in 4 wherever I see a what? An x, right? So, if I were to check this, I'm going to write it out here to the side. I have 4 in the place of that first x, minus 1 plus 5 times 4 equals 23. Type in this piece right here. I'm going to do my work down here below it. That way you can see where it's coming from without the calculator. Make sure you're typing in that part that I have bracketed off. What did y'all get? Were you supposed to get 23? So is 4 the right answer? Any questions there? This is the work that I would do without using a calculator, because y'all notice my calculator's not in front of me, but I want you to use your calculator. Mental math is king, but it is not 100% what I want y'all to do right now. I want you to practice that between now and next year. But please use your calculator. Double check your work. Double check your answers, okay? Any questions here? We'll work on the mental math. Moving on to example 1B. Still in the same realm, a little bit different. Instead now, variables are not the only like terms. Regular terms, which are constants, are like terms too. So which means if you see two numbers, they need to be combined together. Does that make sense? So if I'm looking at C, I have negative 28 plus 15 minus 22x equals 31. On the left side, do I see two constant terms I can combine? What two terms? Type in negative 28 plus 15 for me, please. What'd y'all get? That's where it came from. We would bring down negative 22x equals 31. Any questions there? Does this look like a two-step equation we've been doing this whole time? So what's the first step I need to do? Plus 13, because that's my constant, right? That negative 13. So what happens to those 13s? So I bring down negative 22x equals what's being typed in. Type that in for me. Let's validate the answer. 31 plus 13. What'd y'all get? 44. That's where it came from. Any questions there? Now, how do I get x by itself now? What do I have to do? Divide by what? Negative 22. Does the sign matter? Yes, absolutely. So what happens to these negative 22s? Thank you. They cancel out. What's 44 divided by negative 22? We check it by plugging this in for what? Every time you see an X. So that's where we see it right there. That's where it came from. So you would type in this piece right here. So type in that piece for me so we can validate this answer. Mama saved us. I'll have these and the behavior trackers for you ready to go by second block. Okay. You all good, girl? You good. All right, what'd y'all get? 31. Does 31 equal 31? Yes. So is negative 2 the right answer? Yes. Perfect. Any questions there? Everybody good? Yes. Okay, look at D. We have 7 plus 4x minus 9 equals negative 6. Covering over that right side, do I see anything I can combine on the left side? 7 and negative 9. So if you put 7 plus negative 9, that is also true. If you put 7 minus 9, that is also true. Type in either way you want. So 7 minus 9 or 7 plus a negative 9. They both work. I'll tell you when. And you see how I caught you? Give them a second. Give them a second. Lord, I always catch y'all slipping. Y'all act like it's something different. What'd y'all get? Everybody get negative 2? What comes down behind it? Uh-huh. Perfect. Now, do I have a two-step equation again? Yeah, so what's the first step I need to do? Because that's my constant, I do plus 2 on. Perfect. What happens to those 2's? So what's brought down? 4x. And then what am I typing in? Negative 6 plus 2. Please type that in. I really want us to practice with typing in negatives because we've been dropping them quite a bit recently, and I don't want that to be your one mistake that you're having on your test, okay, or on your quiz. So what's negative 6 plus 2? Perfect. The negatives matter. The positives matter. What needs to happen next? Divided by 4, because that's what's in front of the x. So what happens to those 4's? What's brought down? And then behind that? And then what am I typing in? Type that in for me, please. What'd you get? Perfect. How would I rewrite this to check it? What would come first? 7 plus 4. Uh-huh. So you type in this part. I'm going to show you my side going down, okay? You want to make sure you're typing in, baby. This ain't going nowhere. What'd y'all get?
-6.
Does -6 equal -6?
Yes.
So is -1 the right answer? Any questions there? How are we feeling? Feeling good? Not too bad, right? Okay. I want you to do questions number 1 and 2 for me and bring those to me, okay? Make sure your check is there and the work is neat. There's pencils over there. Make sure you go grab a pencil if you need one. They're over there. So, up here, pencils up there. The sharpener's over there. Alright, so looking at this, looking at the first one, I have 20 plus G equals 14. What's the first thing I need to do? Add what? The two G's, because aren't they like terms?
Yes.
Don't the directions say combining like terms? So, what's the coefficient in front of this G?
1.
What's the coefficient in front of this one?
1.
So, what's 1 plus 1?
2.
So, what's being brought down? 2G plus 20 equals 14. That looks like a two-step equation to me. What about you? What do I do from here? Minus 20, because that's my constant.
Juniors, remember you are sitting on the visitor side of the gym.
What's brought down?
For just room purposes.
What's brought down?
The gym at this time.
2G.
2G. What happens to the 20s? What's brought down behind this? What's typed in?
14 minus 20.
Thank you. Type in 14 minus 20 for me quickly, especially those who know that they did not do good on this. I should not have had to put in F's in for this. So please make sure that you are holding yourself accountable. What is 14 minus 20, Jordan? Yep. It's what? Thank you. Guys, what do I do from here? Divide by what?
2.
On? What happens to those 2's? So what's being brought down? G. And then equals. What am I typing in?
-6 divided by 2.
Okay, great. Brandon, what is -6 divided by 2?
-3.
Thank you. How do I check this?
Plug in -3.
Absolutely. So how would I rewrite it?
20.
Plus parentheses. Perfect. We just type in this whole side, correct?
Yes.
Type that in for me quickly. Sir, we'll talk about that in a second. You see me going over the ones that we just did in class, yes? That's a question more for when we have time in here or when it's individual between me and you, okay? But when I'm doing this, I have to be able to focus on this first. Give me a second. What'd y'all get? Does 14 equal 14?
Yes.
Any questions there? All right, looking at number 2. If I cover the left side that only has one term, do I have any like terms on the right side? What are the like terms? So what am I typing in? Type that in, I'll tell you when. -12 comes down unchanged, equals. Type in -5 plus 11. True, what'd you get? Did you type in -5 plus 11? The negative button is the white button at the bottom. That looks like a minus sign. So -5 plus 11. There we go. 6, what comes down behind that? No. What comes down behind the 6? Minus 6n. Because is there anything to combine to that 6n? No, absolutely not. So, is this a two-step equation now?
Yes.
What's my first step? minus 6 on.
Both sides.
Most of you who got this wrong did not do this step correctly. That was the problem. This step knocked out a lot of people, and that's why some people didn't make hundreds. If you saw on your paper, I tried to mark in what you missed. That's if there was something there to mark. If there was nothing there to mark, there was nothing for me to get feedback on. So please show work. True, I give partial credit. That's what I'm referring to. So, what's being typed in? Negative 12 minus 6. Perfect. Denver, when you typed that in, what'd you get? Negative 12 minus 6. Type it in for me quickly, baby. You're okay. Negative 18. What comes down behind that, everybody else?
6, 7.
Equals.
Equals. What happens to those 6s?
8.
And then what's brought down behind that? Negative 6n. Most of you dropped that negative on that 6n when you were supposed to carry it the entire way. Notice how I said signs matter? This mattered in this case, okay? So what do I need to do from here?
Divide both of them by 6. Negative 6.
Thank you for correcting that. It's negative 6. Do signs matter? Yes. So what am I typing in?
8.
Sophomores to gym, sophomores to gym.
Thank you. Type that in for me, please. Negative 18 divided by negative 6.
And you get
What did y'all get? 3. What comes down behind it? Equals. What happens to these negative 6s?
cancel out.
What's brought down?
And equals.
What's another way to write this?
And equals 3.
Are both acceptable ways?
Yes.
Absolutely. How would I check this?
Equals.
Negative 12 equals.
Negative 5.
Minus
3. Plus 11.
There we go. We type in that side, right? I'm going to show my work on this side so you can see where it's coming from. What'd y'all get?
Negative 12.
It should be negative 12. So, any questions there? Does negative 12 equal negative 12?
Yes.
So is this the right answer?
Yes.
Any questions on this?
No bad.
Those who got it incorrect on a step, do you see where your step that you did it incorrectly was? Great.
See you Monday.
Find your seat. First row, calculators up. Everyone else pack up. Remember, your notes are due this evening.